A lot of online creators today really want to build a community around their content. But what does that really mean, and how do you go about doing it? Today, let's talk through 6 of the basic elements that any successful online community needs to have, and we're gonna talk about those coming up right after this. Hey guys, my name is Tim Schmoyer and welcome to Video Creators, the channel that is all about helping you grow your YouTube channel so you can spread a message that reaches people and changes their lives. And one of the best ways to reach people and change their lives is to form a community that they want to be a part of, right? So before we get into some of the basic elements that your community needs to have, let's talk about what a community is, because a lot of people use words like audience and community and viewers and subscribers. They use like all of these words interchangeably. And to me, there's very distinct differences for each of these. An audience is, the way I think about it, is if you are on a stage and everyone is in seats looking at you up on stage. That is an audience. They are looking at you. But a community is when you, as the leader of that audience, can get those people to stop just focusing on you, but instead get them to turn and look at each other and start interacting with each other. And you, as the leader, become a facilitator to people who are interacting and supporting and standing together like this rather than them all just looking at you. So how do you go about creating that type of dynamic around your content with you as the leader, the facilitator of that community? Well, there's a great article at moz.com. I will put a link to it in the description below this video. You can go check it out. It'll go into far more in depth about all this, but there's a few key points in there that I'm pulling out that I think make sense, especially for those of us who are developing communities around our YouTube channels. And the number one thing is that there has to be boundaries. And what that means is that people need to feel like they're included into like a little group, but the only way that happens is if there's actually another set of people that they are not, the set of people that are not a part of this group that they do not identify with, so it's like Republicans versus Democrats, it's like PC versus Apple. And as creators, I know a lot of times we actually look at like the haters on the outside and we just want everyone to be a part of our community and to be a part of what we're doing, but that's actually the quickest way to kill community instead of a really good way to grow it. Number 2, a growing and thriving community also needs to have an element of emotional safety. That is, if I share something here that's personal or maybe even intimate, will it be accepted? Will people understand it? Will they get it because we're all kind of coming from a similar perspective of something, or we're coming from a similar like point in life or whatever? Like, is this a safe place for me? And that has to be really key in order for your community to grow. Number 3, the community has to feel like they have some sort of personal investment, some sort of personal involvement in the content, in the community itself. And so I think it's really important as creators for you to come up with ideas of how can you get your community involved. Rather than it just being you on a stage talking to your audience, how can you get the audience to become involved with each other, become involved with you, to become a part of your content? I mean, some really easy ways are just to start featuring them in your videos, start talking about the community's accomplishments of what you're doing together. And that kind of goes along with number 4, and that is influence. Your people who are watching you need to feel like they have an influence on the community. Not just that they're a passive part of it and like, okay, like they're going off and doing this thing, but like that's not me, or like there's nothing that I really have to contribute or anything. They have to feel like not only are they a part of it, but they actually have influence on the direction that this community goes and how this community shapes and what it looks like in the future. And so it's really important for you as the creator to create opportunities for your viewers to have some influence over the community and what you're working on. The next one is perhaps the most important one that ties a lot of these things together, and that is you need to have some sort of shared values, because the strongest communities, both online and offline, it applies to both places, they form around shared beliefs, not common interests. A lot of people think like, oh, well, we both like fishing, right? So if we both like fishing, we'll have something to talk about for a little while. But if we realize that we both believe the same thing about fishing, like why it's important, whether it's from like a childhood belief or value that, something we did with grandparents that really established like multi-generational relationships or something like that. I just made that up off the top of my head. then we not only have something to talk about, but we have something that's going to bond us and really pull us together. And those shared beliefs is what's really going to make any community strong. And number 6, there has to be meaningful emotional connections with the community, with the members, with each other, with the creator, with the content, with the story that the channel represents, with the history of the channel. There has to be some really emotional connections there. So a lot of this is easier said than done, and a lot of this does take time to develop, but I recommend you go down there and read that article at moz.com. I think you'll learn a lot more from that as you dig into it. And also read the book called Primal Branding. Not sponsored or anything, but this book, guys, is really good in helping you set up a brand that makes it really easy for people to connect to have that emotional connection to, and like all the things we just talked, like this will give you some like really practical examples of how other brands have done it. You can see how like I've highlighted like so much in this book, and as you go through it, you'll start understanding why some of the big channels on YouTube are as big as they are, not because they're making awesome content, but because they have this stuff in their brand that's translating over into their community. And so I really highly recommend it. There's a link to it in the description below if you want to go get it and check it out. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below about what other things you have learned from the communities that you're building online. Thank you so much for being a part of this community of creators who are spreading messages and reaching people and changing their lives. That's really what this channel is all about, that helping you guys grow your channel so that you can do that. So if this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe. Every Thursday, we're publishing videos just like this to help you guys continue to learn how to do that. And I will see you guys again next week for another video. So subscribe and I'll see you then. Bye.